I think it's good for us to be able to celebrate our Mother's Day in honor of our mothers. I wonder how many happen to know in what state of our nation Mother's Day began.
West Virginia.
West Virginia. And if that's all that West Virginia is known for, it's not. But if that's all it's known for, I think they ought to be commended because of that. How many of you still have a mother that is still living? All right, I see several hands going up. I think of Mother's Day. I think of my mother. And for the first time in my life, one of my children, and I'm not going to say who it was because Steve's sitting right here, wished me Happy Mother's Day. And I said, I'm not your mother. He said, well, you do all the cooking and all the washing. That isn't it a joy? And by the way, I envy you that still have your mothers living. But it's a good envy. It's not a negative type of feeling. It's just the fact that I appreciate that. All this week, as I tried to anticipate what I wanted to say, one thing kept coming to my mind. I could not shake it. And it was something that made a long-lasting impression in my mind. And I'm going to admit very quickly that I've talked to some of you about some of the things that happened at this particular event that happened. But many of you know that I used to work as a customer service representative for DirecTV. Is that I enjoyed the work, although sometimes I got real upset with some of the customers that called in because they wanted things I could not do, and they argued and squiggled around to try to get things that were not rightfully theirs. But this one woman called in. And I told the story before because of the fact that she wanted to know what my great-grandchildren called me. And I told her. And she laughed about it. You took a big charge of it. And if you ever want to hear that story, I'll tell you because it's the same woman. But she called in because of the fact that she wanted to upgrade the programming that she was getting on her television. And she explained to me that her granddaughter was going to move in with her because her granddaughter was pregnant, going to have a child. And the reason she was moving in was, number one, her husband was in the service and was being shipped to one of the hot spots in our world, such as Iraq. I think it was Iraq where he was going to be sent. His term of duty over there would have been close to 9 months, if my thinking is right. Second reason was that she had the room for her granddaughter. And the third reason, she was very close to the hospital where the child was going to be born. And she was getting quite big. And she says, I'm so excited that I want to be able to have good programming for her to see while she's with me. Then she's asked me what we had to offer. The phone call lasted quite a long time because I had to go through the various programs, packages that we had, explain to her what was on it and what was not on it. And other things that she had in mind, her granddaughter was bringing an HD television in. She wanted to go HD and so forth. But during the conversation, this particular woman was so sweet that if I could have, I would have gone through the television and just given her a hug because she came across in that way. You know, I'm a hugger, I like to hug, and so forth. And I told some people right after the phone call that her sweetness is just like honey dripping off the telephone that was there. That she was just a very sweet person. If I were to guess, I think, if my memory serves me right, she was from Georgia, and she talked with that southern drawl, you know, just very slow and so forth. That I have never had a conversation with a person where she expressed so much love for her family. During the course of the conversation, she told me that she was looking forward to her granddaughter coming. She has such a sweet voice, she said, and I'd love to hear her sing spirituals in church. And she's planning on doing that. And she talked about how much she loved her husband, how much she loved her children, how much she loved her grandchildren. And this was to be her first great-grandchild. She even asked me, she said, "You seem like a good Christian young man." She said, "Young." He said, "Would you continue to pray for my grandson-in-law, that he would be safe while he's overseas?" She, by the way, I talk about how she asked me, she says, "I don't know what I'm going to have my great-grandchild call me." And I said, "My wife has my great-grandchildren call her Gigi for great-grandma." And then went on from there. We finally settled on a program package, which I gave to her, which she was going to have to pay for. Then I also added to her package a few trial programs for her to review to see if she wanted to have them. She had 3 months to make up her mind. For some reason, this woman comes to my mind quite frequently. If I pray for her, I have no idea whether she's still living or dead. I have no idea whether the grandchild that was going to be born was still living or how things were going. But I still pray for her every once in a while, for God's care to be hers. I'm sure that if I were to go around, sit down with each one of you, and talk about your family, I would hear stories very similar. And if you talk to me, you'll hear a lot about my early days of life and the training I received at my mother's knee and some of the things that occurred during my early life. The only thing I can say about this, God knew exactly what he was doing when he established family, husband, wife, mother, father. I read a story this past week. I just popped in my mind about a little boy. His mother told him about how God created Adam. Then while Adam was asleep, he took a rib out of Adam's side and created a woman. A couple of days later, the little boy was laying on the floor having a pain in his side. And, his mother asked him what was wrong. He says, "I think I'm going to have a wife." I had to think of that during that time. But when you begin to think about the emphasis of motherhood, and I think of so many people, my mother, my wife, I think people in the church that I've known down through the years. I think there's characteristics that you can find, examples in the Bible of things that you really appreciate, really enjoy. I personally believe that a mother happens to be the heart of the home. I give my wife credit for whatever about the raising of my kids. There was times I had 2, maybe 3 different jobs. Some were part-time, some were full-time. But I was so busy trying to raise money for the family, provide for the family, that I really did not have the time to be with my kids as much as I would like to be. I'm enjoying myself now with my 3 children. And I tell everybody, my wife and I have 3 kids, 1 of each. And they look at me kind of funny, they said, 1 of each. I said, you got boy, girl, and a tomboy. And I enjoy my family. By the way, Ruth and Mary also are fighting among themselves because they both want to be the tomboy. But I enjoy my family. And one of the reasons why I fell in love with Vera from the very beginning was because I saw in her the characteristics of a Christian mother. And I knew that she would be a good mother for my kids. I like to think of a mother's faithfulness to her family as well as to God. I like to think of a mother's dedication to her kids. Oh, we can find cases in the Bible where you don't have that dedication. And I can find cases in the Bible of a mother's sacrifice. And I'll almost guarantee you, if I were to quiz you, that I would find the same thing in you, who are women and mothers. 3 mothers came to my mind to exemplify some of the characteristics. The first one was the mother of Moses. You know, I'll be honest with you. I could not remember Moses' mother's name. I see some of you thinking right now, who was Moses' mother's name? Her name is mentioned in the Bible. Her name was Jochebed. 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 I finally thought about it. But remember what Moses' mother did? They were slaves in Egypt. And as being a slave in Egypt, the Israelites grew to such a point that Pharaoh became alarmed about the number of Israelites that were there, and to try to squelch a rebellion against their slavery, he ordered that every first male child be killed of the Israelites. What did Moses' mother do? She hid him for as long as she could, but when she could hide him no more, she took him down the Nile River and hid him in a basket in the bulrushes. Then she had her daughter Miriam watch. And as she watched, Pharaoh's daughter came down, saw the baby, realized it was an Israelite baby, and she took him home to the palace and raised Moses as her own child. Because the baby was young, she needed to have a woman that was nursing. So she got, Moses' mother came about, and she was able to raise her own child in Pharaoh's palace. And think of the wisdom, the faithfulness. Think, if you will, a dedication and a sacrifice that Moses' mother made. Another woman came to my mind, I almost kept my thoughts strictly to her, was Hannah. Her husband happened to have 2 wives. One wife had children, and the other, Hannah, did not. And she was the other woman that had the children to the man. abused Hannah because she did not have any children. And every year they went to the temple at the proper time to pray. And Hannah would pray every year that for a child to be born. And she made a promise to God. She made a promise to God that if she were to have a child, she would dedicate that child to God. She had a child. God blessed her with a child. And when the child was weaned, she went down and presented the child in the temple to Eli for Eli to raise. The child was Samuel, who became one of the judges of Israel. God blessed Hannah with 3 more sons and several daughters as a result of her sacrifice. I use my imagination to try to think about poor Hannah. I wonder what emotion she had when she went down to Jerusalem to give the child to Eli. I would imagine there was a joy in her heart as well as an agony in her heart as she did this. I would not be able to do that with any one of my kids. Then I thought about the mother of Jesus. The mother of Jesus, how old she was when Gabriel came to her, I've heard the ages from 13 up through 18. It's only speculation. But when we find that Gabriel told her that with God all things were possible, she immediately said, I am the handmaid of the Lord. Do with me what you want. After Jesus was born and laid in a manger, the shepherds came, she hid those things in her heart. The wise men came, she hid those things in her heart. She was with Jesus on the first miracle in the 4th chapter of the Gospel of John, the 2nd chapter, I'm sorry. She was with Jesus, came to see Jesus when Jesus is ministering. She had her other sons and her daughters with her. She was with Jesus around the cross. And if you look in Acts, the first chapter, verses 13 and 14, you will find that she was in the upper room with the disciples right before the day of Pentecost. Again, you find in all 3 of these their faithfulness, their dedication, and their sacrifice for God. And I'm sure that you can find that in your life as you raise your children. One of the things that stand out most about my mother and I is we were raised during the Depression, and I'm sure many of you were. My dad was able to get a job down in Youngstown, Ohio, and we were in Pittsburgh, and my dad would come up to see us about once a month until he was able to get a job in Pittsburgh. So Mom raised us pretty much by herself. And in order to be able for us to go to church, we had to catch a streetcar. If you've ever been to Pittsburgh, you've seen those trolleys that they have. And I remember Mom counting out the money, giving to my brother and I enough money for car fare to be able to go to church, Sunday school church. After Sunday school, my brother and I got together. Mom didn't have that much money. We decided that rather than stay for church, we would walk home, which was about 10 miles. It took over an hour for us to get home. And then we gave Mom back the car fare. And we were so proud. My brother and I were just as proud as punch. Mom, here is 20 cents that you can use to buy a loaf of bread or something of this order. I can remember doing that. I would imagine I was 8 or 9 years of age at the time, maybe a little bit younger. But my mother's reaction was she cried. She cried. And then we said, oh, Mom, you're so happy that you got this money to buy some food for the family. She says, no, I'm crying because you didn't stay for church. Ever since that day, church has been a priority in my life. Because her tears meant something to me. I hope you raised your child or children to honor the Lord, to give all to Him. We're going to be singing. Just as I am, if you're not a Christian, we invite you to come. Believing, repenting, confessing, to be baptized in Christ, that you might serve Him all. And shall we stand as we sing first verse?